Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Studio 78 podcast. I am your host, Nache from NacheSnow.com. Welcome. First of all, thank you all for making this season 8 opener my biggest opener yet. I appreciate it. You guys loved Justine. Thank you for all your private messages. You clearly resonated with that episode. I'm just so happy because she was amazing. I loved listening back to that episode. So I'm glad you guys really enjoyed it. Definitely go over and give her some love too. And thanks again, Justine, for coming on. Okay, so who do we have this week? This week I have Elise Smith. If you guys remember, she was on episode 38 and she talked about Winnie's Bakery. Well, it's been almost, 3.5, almost 4 years since I've had her on. So we do a little bit of a catch up because things have changed in that time. One of the things that have changed is she was diagnosed with a form of cancer, which she will get into. But after that diagnosis, it made her rethink like what she was doing business wise, and she decided to open up oECo Studio, and it is an amazing production company that supports these amazing businesses, eco-friendly businesses. And her story about how she thought about what she wanted to do, went after it with a marketing plan and figuring out what she needed in order to start this new business endeavor was just really inspiring. I just know when you guys finish this episode, you are going to be energized and ready to conquer the world. I loved talking to Elise. Okay, so before I get into it, know that you can find all the show notes at NacheSnow.com/125. NacheSnow.com/125, because she mentions so many good eco-friendly companies. You're going to want to go over there and check out all of them, like all of them. And she also provided me with the company BeTheMatch.org, which she will talk a little bit about in this episode. And I really encourage you guys to go over to that website and consider registering and being a stem cell donor. Okay, so one thing before I get into the episode, if you love this episode, please make sure you share. And of course, if you really enjoy listening to the podcast, please rate me 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, or if you're listening on YouTube, please give me a thumbs up. And if you would like to support me and the podcast, please hit the shop link in the navigation over at NacheSnow.com, and it'll take you over to my shop where you will find the Life Cleanse Journal, the hard copy and digital format. You will find a digital planner that you could use on GoodNotes. You will find t-shirts. You will find all the things that hopefully will make your life a little bit richer. So if you want to support the podcast, definitely check out all the things. Okay, let's get to Elise.
Thank you for having me.
It's so crazy. So for those of you guys who are listening, of course, I just finished doing the little intro, and Elise was on episode 38, which I was looking in my WordPress, and it was November 26th of 2017.
Stop. Oh my gosh. 4
Isn't that a little
years?
crazy? I was
That
like,
is 4 years this fall. That's absolutely insane.
that's what I was like. I
How
was
did that
like,
happen?
really? That's why I was like, what?
Time flies. I
It
hate to
really
say
does.
such a cliche. I was gonna say, but it's so true. It does not feel like it was that long ago. And yet, if I'm being honest, so much has happened since then. So much life has been lived that, wow. Oh
It's a
my
little
gosh.
insane, right? No, I thought that too. So I was like, wow, well, we've got a lot to catch up on.
A lot.
A lot.
Well, thank you for having me back. I couldn't be more excited to be a part of this.
Yeah,
All
and I
right, I'm
cannot
ready.
wait to dig into Eco Studios because the work that you're doing there is just amazing. And then people always have like video questions just in general too. So I feel like we can go off into a whole side conversation about that. But before we even get there, right? What has happened? What do the people need to know about Elise that has happened between when I talked to you in 2017 to when you started Eco Studios? Like, catch us up. Catch us up.
Ooh, ooh, that's loaded.
I know. Catch us up. All the things.
Okay,
All
so
the
Cliff
things.
Notes. Let's see. Since then, career-wise, I became a chef ambassador for the state of Maryland with No Kid Hungry, which was a
Woo.
major catalyst for a shift in my career path. And I could not be more grateful. Food insecurity and accessible nutritional food is a really big deal for me. And also food waste ties into, kind of the work that I'm doing now with oECo Studios. And when they asked me to be a part of it, I was floored. I
Mm,
was just so honored. I had met a wonderful woman by the name of Winnie at an Edible DC event,
mm,
and we communicated, and she just turned out to be one of those wonderful people who was a person of their word, in that she was like, I would really love to have you communicate with us and see how we can have you as a part of No Get Hungry. And so that happened. Let's see, I branched out more with food writing and recipe development. I mean, it's been a wild ride. I am almost done my cook stories book. It's been a long time coming. I think I mentioned it, the start of it, when I was last on here. I'm almost
mm-hmm.
done now. It has been an emotional roller coaster just because it so deeply involves my connection and the beginnings of how I found my way into the kitchen and the lessons that my grandmother imparted to me. And it's very natural for me to use her as a point of inspiration because she really is one of my earliest connections and memories with food. But it is very emotionally trying to go through all of that, sift through photos and look at her handwriting on old recipe cards and like notes. She used to write like notes next to recipes, how she would change them that she would see in the newspaper and
That
things
is
of
so
that
cool. Yeah.
nature. Yeah, and it's just been so crazy, but really wonderful. So the book is almost done. I have had the opportunity to play with fellow food friends. I have met so many wonderful people because of my friend Julia Turshin. She's a wonderful chef. If you don't know her, you've been living under a rock, but that's okay. I'm here to guide the way. And she just became a wonderful mentor for me as I discussed the possibility of putting myself more in the forefront of the work I was doing with Winnie's Bakery. She's really just given me that confidence, and she has completely given every bit of resource that she has so willingly without any expectations of return in any way. And so I've been very grateful to have her as part of my guidance and figuring out my footing and how I wanted to expand the world, or what does my brother call it, the food verse of Winnie's Bakery. So it's just been really eye-opening. I say all that though to then segue into some more personal developments.
Mm,
Since we last spoke, I was unfortunately diagnosed with a second cancer.
mm,
I was diagnosed with MDS, which is myelodysplastic syndrome with AML variant. It is a leukemia, and I got it because when I was 19 years old, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, and I
mm-hmm.
was so fortunate to receive curative therapy via radiation. However, it was such a high dose of radiation that they are now finding that there are these latent cancers that are occurring in individuals who receive such high doses of radiation under the age of 25. Um,
Mm.
yeah. So with that unfortunate development, it meant having to shift my focus and being honest about what I was going to be able to take on physically with Winnie's Bakery. And so with that, I shut down the physical making of pastries and baked goods with Winnie's Bakery. But
Was this in
you know me.
2019? Yeah.
Yeah, so this was, it first started in 2019,
Mm.
and the long and the short of it is I need a stem cell transplant, and I have been on the National Registry looking for my donor match since my
Mm.
diagnosis. It took a while to get diagnosed, and after we received my final diagnosis, because I'm being treated at University of Maryland by a wonderful oncologist by the
Mm.
name of, I'm telling you, she's spectacular, Sandrine Nyangir. Let
Mm.
it be known. This is
Okay.
the woman who is going to lead me right back into the kitchen where I belong. Um,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
so after we got that diagnosis, I got on the registry, and unfortunately, now almost 2 years since my diagnosis, I have yet to find a 100% match.
Mm.
Um, but not all hope is lost. I am a raging optimist, one, and two, I am very fortunate in that my brother David is a haploidentical MAC. And what that means is he is an identical 50% match. So even though it is best, given the complex nature of my cancer, and
Mm-hmm.
how it manifested, it is best to have a 100% match. Knowing that I have my brother is, I mean, it's the greatest security net you could ever ask for, because believe it or not all siblings are matches at all, let alone half matches.
Mm.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you're not able to find like 100% match, then is that like plan B?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We like to call him Plan A2. He doesn't like being called Plan B, but yes, yes.
If you are listening, I'm sorry for calling you plan B. You are
Don't worry.
enhanced
I
plan
have let it
A.
slip. I have let it slip on more than one occasion. He's like, we talked about this, and I'm like, I'm so sorry.
But
But
no, that's amazing because you have an option.
yes,
No,
yes.
I love
And
it.
that's never lost on me, because so many individuals do not, and it's really unfortunate, and that's putting it lightly, but I don't want this podcast to become very dark and
Oh no, that's
very
okay.
em- emotive in the way that I wasn't hoping for it to be.
But I think
But
it's good for people just to understand, right? What you went through and how you're
mhm.
still doing amazing things with all that going
Oh,
on, right? I mean,
I
because
am
you're still
trying
doing a
every
lot.
day. I stepped away from the kitchen to get my initial onset of medications, my new regimen. I mean, life has taken a major shift for me. Everyone's focus, my family, my close friends, every bit of kind of like energy was put into, well, how do we find Elise's match? So I've been working with BeTheMatch, and we have been trying to get more Black and multi-ethnic donors on the registry. I myself am a
Mm,
Black woman, but I have a multi-ethnic lineage, and it does actually matter. It really
mm,
matters. You find matches within individuals who have similar or near identical ethnic backgrounds. And so having more Black people and having more multi ethnic rooted or some percentage of Black individuals on the registry helps save Black lives. I mean,
mm.
it is staggering, the statistics that are out there. So this is just to break it down. Only 4% of the entire registry is has Black or multi-ethnic individuals. And then there
Wow.
is only a 23% chance that even if I were to receive a donor, that it will work. It is staggeringly disproportionate in relation to our white counterparts. And I mean, it is indicative of most other things in life, unfortunately. And so
Mm.
it's been a battle just trying to spread the word and encourage people to, I always like to call it, become a living lifesaver, because
Mm-hmm.
there is nothing in life without risk. However, the risk is so low. It is just like giving blood, except for you're there for a longer period of time
Mm-hmm.
and everything is covered. If you're a college student, they speak to the institution. It doesn't matter if you have finals, it doesn't matter if you have a bar exam, you're clear. They've got you.
Mm.
You have work, they pay for your day of missed work and they communicate with your bosses. You need childcare, no problem. They speak with an agency, they've got childcare. Oh, you don't live in the state? Not an issue. Oh, you're out of the country? No
Wow.
problem. They've got you. It takes deeply committed and a lot of intricate and very strategic planning. But I mean, they've even worked with active duty military personnel and found them in the middle of Kuwait and gotten them
Mm.
there for that person. And they have become a
Mm.
living lifesaver to someone, because you go into the hospital and you sit down or you lay down and you have what is essentially a blood draw, and it lasts for anywhere from 2 to 6 hours. And you eat some good food. You hopefully have a support system with you, like a family friend or your mom or your partner. You watch some movies, listen to music, talk, whatever it is, rest a little bit, and then you're back to life the next day.
Mm.
It's really remarkable what is possible.
You will definitely
So,
have to send me some links and information that I can include in the show notes, because I know
oh,
people are going to want more information about this and I want to point them to the right resources. So,
thank
please
you. I would
send
love
me
to.
some stuff. Yes.
Nache, you're the best. You always are. You always are. You have unyielding support in everything. You're always there. No, you have been the best from top to bottom, beginning to end. I could not thank you more. But back to the food. So, in the midst of my diagnosis and dealing with the ins and the outs of going into the city for oncology appointments, blood transfusions, chemo, immunotherapy, just all the things that go into it, I was feeling very disconnected from myself.
Mm.
And I realized it wasn't just the meds, it wasn't just the diagnosis, and it wasn't just the impending pandemic that would crash down upon all of us in 6 months, but it was
Mm-hmm.
that I was not in the kitchen creating in the way in which fulfills me, that spirit in me that I tend to tap into when I am creating with food, when I am providing and nourishing the people that I love with food. And
Mm-hmm.
being me, I've always been a bit of a bleeding heart and also an entrepreneur. And I had more free time and was able to just read and read and read. And I knew that in my personal life, I had made very intentional steps to make very conscious purchases and to live a more eco-friendly or a more sustainable lifestyle. But I was watching all the people kind of in the Instagram, Twitterverse, Facebook go on with their lives and talk about these amazing food projects they were doing. And all I could do was sit back and, if I'm being honest, standing my truth, be a troll. I was like, oh, well, that they probably reshot and threw that away, and that was left out into air, but it could have been fed to crew. Like, I just picked everything apart, and I realized at the end of all of it, there was a raging amount of food waste, and it deeply infuriated me, because I was like, when they reset that shot, they could have used the same food. But more than likely, if they're
Mm.
right, it's insane. They're doing a promotional shoot where you're doing whipped cream and they're putting it on top of a sundae. They more likely will toss the whole sundae,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or
Mm-hmm.
completely just put it aside and let it sit out, then provide it to a crew member, repackage it in something that could sustain its presence, or just decide to wash and reassemble. And I was just like,
Mm.
this is such a problem.
Mm.
And I was brainstorming with my former founder, and I was just like, we could do something. Like, we could really make an impact. We could shake up the food and production industry. And I was like, I think there's a way that I can take all of my pent up frustration at the way in which we are unnecessarily creating food waste and excessive plastic packaging, and companies that are working with things that are completely stripping our world of its resources. And I was like, we need to create an eco-sustainable food and product production company. That's what we need to do. We
Mm.
need to appeal to the people who understand, and then we need to create video content that takes what they're doing and it impassions potential consumers to come on and make intentional and conscious purchases and invest in those products that are both going to be, if it's food, delicious, or if it's just a product that's going to make a considerable difference in their life and also in generations to come, because you've made an investment in the world, in the earth around you. And so
Mm.
was born oECo Studios. I get to be in the
Well, I mean,
kitchen.
yeah, because everybody would be like, pull that out of their hat. Let me do this. Only
I
Elise.
couldn't stand it.
But what I love about it is I'm even on like your website right now, and I even love the Instagram. I mean, the coloring of the
Oh,
videos is so beautiful. The staging, like you
thank
really
you.
do have an eye for setting the scene, right? And making it look so beautiful and making you want to use that kind of beeswax strap and
Yes. Oh, I
yeah,
love that.
all of the things. So, I mean, amazing, amazing job. But I'm curious, and I'm sure the listeners are too. Like, you have this
Mhm.
idea, right? And this
Mhm.
is like a little bit of a departure from what you were doing. Like, it's still in the food space, but it's different, right? It's
Mhm.
more about helping
Yes.
sustainable brands, and it's Winnie's Bakery. I mean, your Instagram is already beautiful. So I think you already had like the eye for photography and video, but now
Mhm.
this was like you were literally the production
Mhm.
company now for other brands. So how did you get there?
Yes.
Like how did you make it work?
So I worked with my former founder. I have since taken over as the lead founder and CEO of oECo. My former founder experienced some life shifts that caused them to decide to depart, but that's okay. It
Mhm.
was an absolute shock to me, but it allowed me to pivot and realize there was even more potential here in that space, in this absence. And the way that we got to that was we had worked together on many other video productions, and we really enjoyed the process of just really considering how this video that we were going to create was going to impact, the viewer, the audience, and for products, the consumer. Translating this product or this recipe into something that is now a part of that person's life was so deeply intriguing to both of us. And in that was so much room to be creative and to play, and it allowed me to be back in the kitchen on my own terms. And
Mhm.
so, yes, without the pressure of production load. For those of you who don't know, baking is a very meticulous practice and science, and wholesale is a whole nother level.
Right.
So,
When all these bakeries are like, where's my blah, blah, blah? It's like, it's
mhm,
coming. And that's a lot, too, to have to, like,
mhm,
I would assume, prepare every week. Like,
it
yeah.
is. It really, really is. And so, take it for example. So, Bees Wrap, they are a wonderful bee certified corporation. If you don't know what that is, look it up. But it's basically this wonderful designation that says what you're doing is not only sustainable, but it's often regenerative. and you are not causing impact or strife upon unnecessarily to our world and its resources. And we just want to recognize you for all of your efforts for going above and beyond. And they are something that I've used in my bakery and personally for quite a long time. I got my very first one back in 2011 from my local Williams Sonoma because I was walking around window shopping as I often did. I was just getting about the feeling that I might want to start Winnie's Bakery. And I saw it and I thought, how cool. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why didn't this happen sooner? And then instead of pondering like I often do, I was like, who cares? Buy it. And I did. And I've loved it ever since. And they last
Mm,
so long. And I have been fortunate enough to work with one of the very few, like first companies that I ever had as a part of my materials or products in my bakery. And being able to create original content for them where we showcase the product, but
mm.
I also get to play with food. And then we get to impart a bit of knowledge about why this is the product that you should shift towards away from unnecessary single-use plastics. I
Mm.
mean, you're hitting all my aces.
It was like match made in heaven. And it's weird too. Was it just really going to them and saying, "Hey, we have this idea. We think we can help you create branding material that'll help with your
Hmm.
marketing?" Or did you guys like create it first and then pitch it? Like how did that go?
So, as my brother would say, I'm a beast, I'm a monster, I'm a headhunter. And that means when I really want something, there is very little that can stop me. I came up with a marketing pitch that I sent out to, I have sent marketing pitches to over 230 companies,
Mm.
and we received back about 61. And
Ooh.
then we've gotten into the double digits of our dossier of clients now. And it's been such an honor. But I essentially was just very honest, very forthcoming. I was like, we want to work with you. This is who we are. Here is our reel. Take a look. And this is what the ethos of our business is. This is what we're about. And if you guys think that we could be a good fixture for your business, let's create together. And
Mm.
so that was me sending out emails. I mean, it was, and I'm very entrepreneurial in that I created a template. I would schedule the times. I was like, okay, so from 6:30 until 9:30 in the morning, I am sending out pitches. I am laying in bed and I'm getting it done. I am communicating with these companies. I am scheduling video chats. I am doing market research. And I was like, I'm going to find our niche.
Mm.
We work with a long list of things that cross or that are intersectional of importance. We like to work with, and by the way, they are different. Again, I welcome you all. I will provide Nache with some links. Eco conscious, eco friendly, eco sustainable, regenerative companies. We work with companies that, if we were going to like wine and things, we work with companies that are biodynamic. We work with minority run and operated, but Black, ethnic minority, ethnic or racial minority, femme, non-binary. We're LGBTQIA plus owned. We want to really feel like the people who either feel dismissed or who feel like they have something to really offer that could impact the world in such a wonderful way.
Mm-hmm.
We are the people who will get that message across to your
Mm.
audience. Come to us. We care. We want to work with you. That's who oECo Studios is.
Oh my God. Love all of that. And I think there's like a nugget in there too about just the work ethic because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times we'll say we want something, but we just want it to happen. And then when we see things happening for other people, we're like, why did this happen?
Mm-hmm.
And what people don't realize is over 200 emails were sent out. That's how it
Yes.
happened.
Yes.
So,
Yes, that's exactly right. And most people, I don't know if they heard those numbers, but I didn't hear back from all 200. And guess what? That did not stop me. I have a running list. And, you have to really dig in. You really have to
Mm-hmm.
make your presence known. No one is going to know who you are if you don't put yourself out there, shine the light, and say, here I am.
This is what I want
And
to
if they
do. This is why
decide,
I want to work with
yes,
you. Yeah.
exactly. And if they decide that you are not the right person, even though they are most likely wrong, if they decide that you're not the right person, at least now you know. So you can
Mm-hmm.
refocus your energies somewhere else. It's like, okay, I got my answer. Let's pivot. Let's go over here. I've been looking into you. There is this wonderful eco-sustainable and newly proprietary fabric company called Pangaya. We're
Mm,
going after them. We're in, like,
mm,
my brother did the research. I hired him as our, which is, I think, amazing. He's our social media engagement and marketing lead.
mm.
So that's what his degree was in for school. He went to business school, and I was like, you know what? Come work with me. And he was like, absolutely. You didn't even have to ask. I was like, well, actually, I did. Otherwise, you wouldn't know. But,
Right.
you know, he just kept dropping these nuggets of gold. And I was like,
Mm,
David, I know that you're a father of three and a husband, but
mm.
also, I was about to say, also, you're in graduate school and you have a full-time job, but come work with me. And he's like, absolutely. Because
You're
I'm
like,
his crazy
thank
little
you.
sister. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. It's exactly what I sounded like. Um, so, it was just really finding a way to articulate what we can offer to them,
Mm,
and then showing them in the work, in the videos that we produce, that we were their right choice. We've gotten to
mm-hmm.
work with zip top containers, bees wrap, where we've worked with the two Black owned companies, Butter and Lie out of Brooklyn, by a amazing PhD. I mean, she's wild. Look up Butter and Lie.
I
Just
will.
the most amazing. We shot an entire promotional thing for her. It was fantastic. We're working with Erin and Avery candles, and we've had, like, oh, I'm blanking, of course. Oh, I'm so sorry. One of our newest and most exciting clients, EcoP, is an
Mm,
eco-sustainable, hypoallergenic bamboo diaper and wipe company out of California. And so we're going to be
mm.
shooting our first baby and family commercial. So it's wild. It really, really is.
Wow, you're just giving me podcast guest ideas. Thank you, Elise. Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Like, write names down. No.
I am
Yeah,
telling
I'm looking
you,
at the
they
Butter
will
and Lie
be.
Instagram right now. Like her soaps look so beautiful. They're like little works of
And
art.
they are amazing. I've already gotten paid. Yes, I could be in the interest of maintaining the client relationship, but it's already there because she's fantastic. I don't
Right.
necessarily have to hype her up. I have a bunch of other clients I could mention, but I mention her because just amazing, start to
No, I
finish,
love it.
just the sweetest interactions. I mean, even uses compostable packaging, and
Mm.
the tape that secures the shipping label is compostable. Like,
Wow.
yes, next level.
Like
Just
she's hardcore. Yeah.
hardcore. My kind of person.
Now
Really
let me ask
stepping
you.
it up.
Yeah, and let me ask you a question because you get like 60, 61 people or so that's like,
Mhm.
yeah, sign me up. And then it's holy
Mhm.
smokes.
Yes.
Like I gotta now I gotta like do this.
Yes.
So was this like in the beginning of 2019 and 2020, and how did that all look? Because this was like a new business. You got to figure out
Mhm.
like how to get the products, how you're going to stage the
Mhm.
products. I mean, there's like my brain just thinking about the logistics and how this can happen is like, whoa. So
Yes.
what did you do?
So after hunting these people down and convincing them to work with me, It then became a juggling act, a very intricate juggling act of staggering projects and
Mm,
having layover or overlap, I should say. So we
mm,
would kind of like build out and schedule for food projects for this duration of time. And then we would shift over our focus to more product driven things. And it was really just figuring out, okay, well, this client wants to go with a 3-point promotional package, and this client wants to buy a whole 8. And I'm like, whew, okay. So then let's stretch them out. And then who's launching a new product? Oh, they are, but not till spring. Well, we're still in this fall, so we have time. Let's get this to them no later than the New Year holiday, and then we can get them all settled up and geared and ready for launch. Then we can take a small hiatus, refocus on some food things, and then when they're looking to roll out some of their new summer stuff, we can focus back on them. It is a lot of
mm,
juggling. You live by an alarm clock and a calendar and a very serious spreadsheet.
mm-hmm,
And then you just get creative. You rent out kitchen spaces or you use your own at home. We had a studio space that we were working out of, which was a wonderful opportunity for us to really stretch how well we could be versatile. And you create these whole aesthetics for each brand. Each brand is client curated. It is specifically given their kind of brand build out that they have,
mm,
and no two videos are going to look alike.
mm-hmm.
Our butter and lye does not look like our bees wrap. Our zip top container is not looking like our Eco Pea. It really is just finding what works for each client. And it's been really exciting. Our Smithy and Co is not going to look like anything else that you've seen out there. It is
Mm,
going to give you a sense of, wow, I wish they had done this sooner. This feels like the natural progression of things. These photos are
mm,
beautiful, but I'm buying the
mm-hmm,
cast iron pan. I would love to see how it's used. How does it fit in
mm-hmm.
my life, in my kitchen? Do I really envision myself pulling out a heavy cast iron pan to make fried eggs?
Right.
Yes, actually, I do. I really, really do.
Like I'm
Because it is the
hardcore.
most, right, it is the most wonderful, versatile, well seasoned, true through and through pan that you can come across. Absolutely. That's our
Mm.
job, to kind of instill the faith of said product and what it can do for you. We've got
I
you.
love it.
That's what we do.
I love it. I mean, and it's weird, and maybe you already had experience from Winnie's Bakery, but I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes like what could be overwhelming for people too is creating those creative briefs, coming up with contracts, figure out
Mm-hmm.
pricing when they're now like in kind of like a different business area than they were in before. So what was your
Yes.
process of figuring that out? Because that was like a different business area for you.
Entirely. So, I am lucky that, you know, kind of figuring out like standard market pricing, given, the state that you live in and how things are nationally, all of that research is very, very much so in my wheelhouse.
Mm, mm.
However, video costs
Yeah, that's a
and
whole
things of
other.
that nature. Yes, getting a business off the ground, video costs, ensuring a rig, securing location spaces, communicating the receiving of products from clients, all of that. It was a little bit new, but I was up for the challenge. This was kind of, which is crazy. I had just been diagnosed maybe 3 months prior to the launch of oECo,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew that my doctor said, this is going to be hard, but
Mm,
mostly it's
mm-hmm.
just going to be a long game. We are in
Mm,
this for the long game. And
mm-hmm.
so I knew I could not sit around being stir crazy. There was a pandemic that had all, excuse me, had fallen at all of our feet.
Mm-hmm.
There was a new American Revolution that was rooted in,
Mm-hmm.
I was about to say, racial injustice. And I had a new cancer diagnosis. That's just too much for me to have and not have some type of purpose that I'm working towards. Even if I'm
Mm,
unsure, I need to be working towards something. And so when the inception, I guess, of oECo occurred, I took it as an opportunity to throw every ounce of extra energy that I had into this new baby. And
mm-hmm.
it was the most rewarding and gratifying thing I had done in a very long time. I leaned on, in terms of like the logistics, I leaned on the people that I have in my life. And I feel like a lot of people are afraid to ask for help. I'm not one
Mm-hmm.
of those people. I am a young 30 years old, and I have found in my life that just opening your mouth and asking for what you need more often than not will result in receiving just what you need. And I have used my uncle. He's been my lawyer and helped me draft and put together my contracts over the years so that we had a, excuse me, client to company contract for when they were going to, start with us. And what else? Let me think. I put together writing and language use is one of my strong suits. So I drafted all of our communication templates and things like that, our invoices. I had to do that before. And we also use a couple of different systems. Just really leaning on the people I had around me. My mother was an entrepreneur growing up. She had a diabetic supply company for the first 7 years of my life. And so I have that kind of entrepreneurial blood running through me. And I saw how my mother leaned on the people in her life. I hired my own brother. And I have
Right.
been fortunate enough that I've been able to hire out other people, but just really asking for help and
Mm-hmm.
not being afraid about what it looks like. I went into business with one of my best friends, and that didn't work out. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
great, but I learned something. And that person's still a good person. And I'm so
Mm-hmm.
grateful that they're in my life. And I mean, the knowledge that I was able to absorb from just those 6 months of us working together, I wouldn't trade that for anything. And
Mm-hmm.
taking my skill set plus their knowledge that they imparted upon me, and then leaning on the other resources I have at the end of my fingertips, I was able to really get a business going. And
Yeah.
no, I would not recommend starting a business amidst all of those things, but that is the crazy that is Elise. And it has been really, my work has been my saving grace. Um, Nache, as you know,
Yeah.
I lost my Remy
Yeah.
and I used him in my work. And it was one of the things that we got to do together. And I needed that time to grieve. But
Mm-hmm.
I get to now look back on my boy, and he got to be a spokesmodel for Chippin, which is an eco-sustainable dog treat and food company that was started by women right out of Maryland.
Right. So his essence, his he
Yes,
lives on, right?
he
Yeah. In
really
their
does.
marketing. Yeah.
He made it he had a great 2020 was his year. Let me tell you, my boy made it into a book. I contributed to a book called Gather at the Table, which is a compilation of recipe and stories of 70 plus Black and African diaspora women in the culinary community. It is curated and run by Betty Vandy. And my boy found his way into the book. She heard me talking about Remy, and you know, it's just oECo has done so much for me in ways I never could have imagined. But
No, I mean, I love it because, despite all the things, the ups and downs of 2020, you still had this thing, this sense of purpose, right? And so,
mhm,
even with the pandemic, it sounds like because of the nature of the business, you were still able to create, right? Because I'm
mhm,
assuming because they were able to ship you the products, you just needed to find like the space. And then
yes,
you and maybe one other person or maybe two other people could then do it in a
Hmm.
safely. And so I just
Yes.
love that it sounds like the pandemic didn't slow you down.
It didn't. You're exactly right. We followed the CDC regulations. We would get, if we had outside talent, everyone was required to get COVID tests. They were needing to be in lockdown for 3 days prior for contact tracing. My former partner and I wore masks. We remained 6 feet apart for any time that we did not need to come together. And we just played it smart. And actually, the first couple of videos that we did were over FaceTime because everything was so new and we knew
Mm,
so little about COVID-19 that we went the extra mile of being safe. We were not even physically in each other's presence. So,
mm.
as we learned more and we realized that really keep that distance, keep your circle small, no unnecessary contact with people or going to this place or going to that place. And we even shot some things outside. It
Mm.
was all about being creative while being mindful, of course.
No, I love all the things you're saying, and just to even go back to what you were saying earlier about kind of using your network, your family and friends. I can't remember if it was my grandmother or my mom. I just remember hearing it as I was growing up that a closed mouth doesn't get fed, right? If you need something, ask
Yes.
for it. And it's okay to ask
Yes.
for it. Instead of sitting in
Yes.
misery and not getting what you need, ask the people
Yes.
around you for help.
Right.
Like, it's okay. So I just wanted to circle back and just say, people, listen to that. Like, it's okay. And I even love with your partner, even though it didn't work out
Hmm.
after time, I think sometimes people are in the beginning or at the end of a journey for a reason. And it wasn't meant to be for
Yes.
her to be a part of the journey as it continued. And I feel like that's okay
Hmm.
because probably in the beginning, that's what you needed to get started. And then after
Hmm.
that, she went on her own path. But that's
Hmm.
okay. It was what you guys
It
both
is.
needed for that 6 month period.
Yes. This, I will not sugarcoat this. That was hard. That was
Yeah.
so hard. Realizing that what we were geared to and our paths were no longer converging in the way they had began. That was
Mm-hmm.
really
Mm-hmm.
hard. But
Mm-hmm.
just keeping in mind that nothing was ever done with malicious intent, one, and
Mm-hmm.
two, you just have to give people space to grow. And if how she grew was not with oECo, then yes, there are things to figure out. There are logistics that need to be taken care of, but it can be done. It
Mm-hmm.
can be done. And again, like I said earlier, I gained so much from us starting this together. And so, because of what I learned from them, I'm able to now take that on. And we've hired out a couple of new video producers, which is exciting,
Mm.
and work with all of these different creative minds so that now I can collectively have, okay, well, this client likes more of this style, and this client likes this shot with a little bit of like sundress light, and this person really loves slow motion capture, and you have a rig that is more suitable for that. It's been really exciting to figure out how you can be dynamic for your client and
Mm-hmm.
still remain true to the goal of oECo, because oECo is literally just eco or ecological in Latin. And
Mm.
so it's just really been kind of, I hate to sound so cheesy, but life changing, really. It
No, I mean
has
it
been
sounds
life
like it, yeah.
changing.
And I'm just curious too, what does your like team look like? Do you just depending on the product like hire freelancers when needed, or do you
Hmm.
have people like you go to every time?
So right now it's a team of four. We have two video producers that we work with. It's myself and
Mm.
my brother, and then David. And then we go to, well, actually, I've hired on a third person, but that one's new. So I guess it's
Mm.
technically a team of five. But we just say, okay, well, this client has this time frame and likes this style, and they really loved your samples that you put forward. Can we make this work? Da 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 da. And then if it's a right fit, we storyboard out, and then we send it over to the clients and we get approval. And it's that process for each of the video producers that we work with. Our video producing lead that we'll actually be announcing soon is someone by the name of Trinice Foster. I met
Mm.
her on a WMAR. It was a news interview that I had to do actually about BeTheMatch. And I said, this was right after the bomb of my former founder was going to be leaving oECo was dropped on me. Like, I think it was 2 days afterwards. And if I'm being honest, even though I felt very grateful for the platform, I did not feel like doing this interview. I didn't feel well. It had just snowed again. I think this is the most snow we had in years. It just snowed again. You know, I'm trying to communicate with my clients so that I can give them plans and they can set expectations as to what's to come. And my head is just not in the game. I was just like, everything was going so well. How did this happen? And then I met Trinice. I was like, oh my gosh, what are the odds? I was like, what? A talented a talented
It's always that unexpected, that
right,
time where you think like, oh, I shouldn't do this, but if
yes,
you wouldn't have done it,
yes,
if you wouldn't have done it, yeah, yeah, you wouldn't have
yes,
met such an amazing
absolutely,
person. Yeah,
a
yeah.
talented,
I love it.
qualified, young, able, capable Black video producer was like so interested and turned out to be just a lovely and warm person. She is
I
our video
love it.
producing lead, so she gets the most contracts and we work with her the most. And she's shooting the EcoP campaign. I, if you had told me this about a month and a half ago, I would have been like, no way. Yes, way. It is absolutely insane how serendipitous life can be.
Mm,
Just when you think things are not going to work out, they often can. You just have to
mm,
keep putting one foot in front of the other. And it's okay to feel unsure, because I have felt very, very uneasy over the last like 2 months when this all occurred. But at a certain point, you get really firm in the path that you're walking, and those footsteps don't feel so uncertain anymore. It all kind of feels perfectly timed. And it's
mm,
okay to like leave room and space to sidestep away from that path if it no longer serves you or if
mm-hmm.
circumstances have changed. And what I realized is that I have big dramatic dreams for oECo, and I like being the boss. So even though I worked actually real, I wish there was some like juicy tidbit, but we actually worked really beautifully together. My former founder and I, um, we really did, and we had such a good time together. But yeah, I do. I like being the boss. So even though it is a lot to take on, I put on CEO cap, and I now get to work with a variety of very talented individuals who will be able to create these wonderful and engaging videos, promotional ads and commercials and digital click ads for companies all over the
Mm,
world. We have a client
that
who we're in
is very
communication with in
cool.
Australia right now.
Look at you,
It,
international. Wait.
it's a lot though. I won't even lie and like act like it's super cool. It's cool, but it's tough. That's a 15-hour difference, and scheduling emails and calls has been a time to say the least.
No, I love it. Okay, so I've kept you a lot longer than I thought I would, but the conversation was so good I had to dig. I know everybody who's listening was like, keep on asking questions, Nache, but I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna wrap it
Oh,
up.
I love that.
So, two quick questions as we wrap up.
Hmm.
The first question is three things, three lessons learned that you would
Okay.
just pass on to people.
Just because it's good doesn't mean it's right. That one's real hard. I have to remind myself of that all the time. And the two others, probably, I'm going to sound like my grandmother. Everything in its divine timing. It really is. Just remain prepared and the timing will fall into place. It really will. I
Mm,
genuinely believe that. You have to do your end. You have to do that work. You have to show up. You have to be present so that you can be counted. But you cannot force something to arrive when it is not due to arrive yet. Lastly, just enjoy it. Whatever it is that you're doing. And I do realize that that is a privilege that not everyone is afforded. But scientists say that we spend about a third to 2/3 of our life working. If you're going to be putting forth that much of your life when time is precious beyond, it's just beyond definition, quite honestly, time is inexplicably precious. Really be going after the things that fulfill you. I have every intention and belief that I will make it through my transplant just fine and that I will kick cancer's ass again. But if I don't, I genuinely feel like the work that I have created and the time and the sacrifices that I've put forth towards that was all the right choice. I really do. And I feel really fortunate for that. And it's not lost on me because not everyone gets to do it. But if you have an opportunity, don't say no or dismiss it or downplay it just because you're scared or you're unsure or you don't know where to get started. No one knows where to get started. That's what Google and good friends and maybe a little bit of liquor for courage is for. You just have to have enough courage to whisper to yourself, I can do hard things. And even if I don't have the answers, I'll either figure out the answers or I'll find someone who does.
Yes. Okay. And I'm a productivity junkie. So you're going to have to give me something, one thing, one something, software, something that you
Okay.
love that has helped you do what you do.
Well, two, I swear by Google everything. Google Calendar, Google Meet, everything Google. I link everything up. I can share events. I can connect. If it's a Google Meet, I can create it in my calendar and it has a link code for all of my clients. And Google is so accessible to so many people. And then I also like the workflow app Monday. I really like that. Divvy up task. It makes me feel so accomplished when I look at, so it's like, I'm telling you off the top of my head, I guess I can reach my phone. It's like green, blue, yellow, and red are like the colors, like the default colors that they give you, but they have like a multitude. Because I even made a personal checklist, and that has purple. It makes me feel so accomplished, and it also gives me kind of a productivity breakdown for what was needed to be accomplished this week, what was actually accomplished this week, and what possibly could carry over to the next week. It keeps you accountable, but for me personally, it doesn't feel pressured because it tells you, hold on, let me open it up and show you kind of how it like breaks down. So here's my work list. So you can set custom things as well. So you can have different statuses. You can have done, research, in the work, or unable. You can throw over a task to someone else, even if it was yours. And you can put an importance notification towards it, like high priority. I really love that. I live by timers. I swear by my Google Calendar. And I absolutely love Monday. So there you go. Those are my
All
two that
right.
I cannot go without. Monday app,
Love
look
it.
into it. And
I'll
then,
link it in the
guys, if you
notes.
don't have a Google Calendar, get on your game.
I mean, it's like, step it up, people. Right?
Right?
I know. My Google Calendar is like synced in. I love like the Calendar 5 app on my phone, but my Google Calendar that's for the business and then my personal Apple Calendar all sync into Calendar 5. And I mean, I live
Ooh,
and die by that
okay.
thing. Like if it's not on this app, and because the app also
Mm-hmm.
has of course widgets you can use on your iPhone,
Mm-hmm.
I'm lost without it. What am I doing with my
Right.
life? What's going on? What am I doing today? I'm lost.
Oh my gosh. See,
Um,
I'm learning from you. I'm going to use that one because that has been a running thing as our family, Nache, you know this. It's a personal tidbit. We had been living together since the beginning of the pandemic. I'm buying a tiny house. My brother and sister-in-law are getting their house. We're all going to go our separate ways, but we're like, but how are we going to be together? How is everyone going to get on each other's schedule? Look at you solving our whole
Yeah.
family issue
Sync.
in one fell swoop.
Sync, sync, sync. Yes. This has been great, but please tell the listeners out there where can they find you and what you're
Okay.
doing.
So, as much as I am very grateful, I am not a social media person. However, you can find me on the gram. Come to Instagram and you can type in oECo Studios. So that's oECO Studios. And that's where you'll find me. Or you can look up Winnie's Bakery, and that's WINNIES Bakery. And just come say hello, and I would love to hear from any of you guys.
Love it. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast again. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. And I can't wait to do this again in 3 years.
I know, right? Okay, so what did I tell you guys? What an inspiring and amazing story. I have already reached out to one of the eco friendly companies she's mentioned to get an interview with the company. So stay tuned on that because, oh my God, all the companies she mentioned were just so amazing. I've like saved all the websites. And you can too, just head on over to nachesnow.com/125. I have all the eco friendly companies she mentioned. And I have the link to BeTheMatch.org, the stem cell registry. So definitely please go over there, check it out, learn more about it, see if it's something that you want to be a part of. And I'll just end with this. There was so many inspiring parts about her story. But what really resonated with me is her hard work and determination. Like once she decided to do it, she did the research, she created a marketing plan, she reached out to all of those people, right? Not worrying about getting rejected or not. And she put in the work to get it done. And a lot of times we don't put in that work. And so I just love what she was able to accomplish. And I think the videos that she creates are very beautiful. So, yeah, kudos to you, Elise. Love what you're doing. And for all those out there, just don't give up on your dream. Don't give up on what you want to do and figure out how you can make an impact and just go for it. All right. Well, I hope you guys have an amazing week, and I will catch you guys next week. All right. Take care.